In this video, I'm going to explain why you need a life purpose in order to protect your soul from the controllers and from what is coming next. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. The controllers of this planet are getting crazier every day, and it's no longer sufficient to look for answers from so many disparate outside sources. We need something more powerful to guide us from within that is in alignment with the larger natural universe. The most powerful guiding force for any human being is to live with a sense of life purpose. And the best sense of purpose is one that aligns with the larger evolving universe. Now, a lot of people know or sense that they have a purpose, but they don't always know exactly what it is. So I'm going to show you what to do if that is your experience. And I'll also show you what to do if you are clear on what your purpose is and how to strengthen that experience. Let's say that there are 3 levels of life purpose. Level number 1 is knowing that you have one, but not knowing exactly what it is. Level 2 is knowing or suspecting what your life purpose is, but being afraid to act on it. And level 3 is knowing your purpose and acting on it accordingly. So whatever level you feel that you are at, it's important that you move forward and strengthen your sense of purpose on this planet. We need something that will help us to feel so solid within ourselves that these crazy controllers cannot sway us from our desired trajectory of a higher timeline of evolution. And living a purposeful life is the most powerful way to stay firmly grounded and anchored at the highest possible timeline trajectory. So I want to talk to you about how to strengthen yourself at each one of these 3 levels of life purpose. Let's start with level number 1, which might be where a majority of awakening people find themselves. Now, it might seem kind of weird to incarnate on a planet, yet have no idea about why you're here. But it's actually very understandable. It's understandable because from the day we're born, we are funneled into a purpose that is entirely of the controller's making. There is not the slightest concern about who we really are as individuals at a cosmic or spiritual level. The only concern is about how well we fit in with the status quo. So when we arrive on this planet, many powerful forces go to work to immediately shape our consciousness along with our minds, our bodies, and our emotions into a uniform, prescribed modality. These powerful forces come under the umbrella of religion, society, school, and government. We are told by outside authorities what our purpose is. We are not encouraged to discover it for ourselves. Instead, we are given a specific array of choices, each of which serve the controller's overall agenda. By the time all of this brainwashing and mind control is finished via a superficial system of punishment and reward, it's no wonder that a spiritual awakening can come as a dramatic shock to our system. And it's also no wonder that so many people come out of their awakening feeling completely mystified about why they are here. They might know that they're here for something greater. They might know in their innermost self that they are here for a reason, but they also sense that it's a lot more profound than what they have been told. And there is likely no visible avenue for such a purpose in the midst of so much chaos, especially in the chaos we see today. So what does a person do in this situation? Well, you can start by realizing that your absolute core human purpose is to consciously evolve in alignment with the natural universe from a place of clarity and love. And it's also important to realize that no one evolves from a place of living in a mind-controlled reality. Evolution is not about being controlled. It's about the freedom to think creatively for oneself. And that starts with validating your own experience. Now, if you are in this situation, you might also feel that there is something special for you to do in order to serve humanity. But you may need to evolve yourself first in order to discover what that is. You may need to shed some false beliefs about yourself and the world around you in order to have the space to discover something new. The two main things that you may want to transmute and let go of are negative thinking and self-doubt. Both of these things are related to the ego, which wants to preserve your former identity in order to preserve itself. So, for example, let's say that you were brought up in a dogmatic and fearful religious environment. Maybe you were told that God should be feared and that you are fundamentally unworthy. In this case, the most important thing is to listen to your heart and ask yourself if this makes any sense. Does it make any sense to say that God is love, yet relishes punishing so-called sinners for all eternity? Does it make sense to say that God is love, yet is putting us all through some bizarre kind of test where we don't know the rules and are most likely to fail? These beliefs are designed to separate people from their natural connection to their Creator and make them much easier to control. So this is an example of the type of deep-rooted beliefs that you may need to evolve out of. Now, if you suffer from self-doubt, then a good way to handle this is to recognize that this is also a product of the ego's need to keep you small and quite reliable in that smallness. It's a product of the ego's need to maintain the limited boundaries of a small identity around your consciousness. This is not about protecting you. It's about protecting the identity that you were trained all your life to adopt. And once you adopt that prison of identity, then it becomes yours. Once it becomes yours, the ego will do anything and everything to preserve that identity. This is the identity that the controllers want you to maintain so that you remain under their artificial wing of control. So evolving in order to discover a higher purpose of service often involves a process of freeing yourself from a self-imposed prison of identity that was projected on you all your life by outside authorities. So don't be concerned if you haven't yet discovered a higher purpose of service in this world. It probably means that you have some prior evolutionary work to do first. And as long as you are making a sincere effort in this regard, then you are on a purposeful path. Now let's talk about level 2 of life purpose, which is knowing what your higher purpose is, but being afraid to act on it. In this case, you might find yourself in an ongoing mode of procrastination as you wait to be ready to act on what you know you need to do. This is what I like to call the getting ready syndrome. It's like if you want to go from point A, where you are now, to point B, where you are actively living your purpose of service, and there is a belief that the best way to do this is to do nothing until you are convinced that you know everything there is to know about point B. The belief is that unless you have all of the knowledge and ability necessary to live from point B, well, then you're not ready yet. The belief is that if you could just have the prior knowledge about how to do this successfully, then you will have the confidence needed to move forward. But there's one problem with this kind of thinking. There is no way to know what this would be like or to have all of the ability necessary to live from point B without actually going through the process of getting there. And the process of getting there will likely involve going through a number of thresholds and challenging experiences that will take you to each of the next steps on your journey. They might be big challenges and they might be little ones, but they will likely be experienced as challenges because you are on a journey that takes you from who you used to be to who you are today and ultimately to the person that you want to become. And the person that you are today, especially after an awakening, is one who longs for authenticity. It's a person who desperately needs to get out of the jail that they formerly lived inside of, where they had to make their life conform to the wishes of other people. It's a person who deeply desires to openly express who they really are, how they feel, and what they have to contribute in the world. It's the creator that you know yourself to be. And once again, it's the ego that will try to hold you back. It's the ego that will fill your mind with thoughts about measuring up and comparing yourself to others. But no one can compare to you because no one is you. The world needs your authenticity. It doesn't need for you to be a copy of someone else. After all, when you think about it, this is what makes nature so breathtakingly beautiful. It's the fact that no two things are alike. It's the controllers who made us believe that we are supposed to be like everyone else. It's the controllers who told us that if we don't achieve this uniformity and fit in with their prescribed mold, then there's something wrong with us. So if you want to live the purpose that you already suspect is yours, then you will need to let go of the preposterous idea that you are supposed to be a copy of everyone else. You will need to validate yourself as a unique individual and be forgiving of your learning process. Can you imagine if a little seed that was buried in the earth thought in the way that we humans are taught to think? What if the moment that that little seed hit a rock as it was striving upwards, it saw itself as inadequate or stupid and just retreated back underground in shame? Fortunately for all of us, seeds don't do this. If that little plant hits an obstacle on its journey towards the sun, it simply finds a way around it. And we can be the same way ourselves. We don't have to beat ourselves up if we don't get things perfect on the first try. So if point A is where you are now and point B represents a new life where you are actively living your purpose, then realize that the journey to get to point B is where you actually acquire all of the knowledge. That knowledge does not come before you begin the journey. With every step that you take on that journey towards point B, you are learning and growing and evolving. You are becoming stronger and more of who you really are. Yes, you may encounter obstacles and difficulties, but as long as you remain true to your higher purpose, then you are living on a purposeful path. The key is to keep trusting yourself and not look outside of yourself for validation. The key is to learn from your mistakes and not let the ego use those mistakes to convince you to quit. And finally, let's talk about level 3, where you feel that you are already living your life's purpose. What can you do to empower yourself even more? The first thing to know is that you might find yourself under attack for not following the herd. People who are herd-like don't like it when someone bucks the system. Even though you may not be a confrontational person, the mere fact that you are living life on your own terms is confrontational to the people who have succumbed to the controller's fear-based messages. That's because they have likely justified their enslavement with a belief that there is no other way to live. There is no other choice. So they find some measure of artificially induced peace with this kind of rationale. If you come along doing something outlandishly different and living independently, it really disrupts their seemingly peaceful belief system. Because if they accept you on your terms, then it means that all of their rationale for living an enslaved life might be wrong. So they might treat your unique independent life as though it is an attack on them. They might interpret your very presence as something designed to make them wrong. So if you are living a purposeful life that doesn't match up with the global human herd, then it's important to have perspective about the environment in which you live. When you have perspective, then you can remain calm and not be thrown off by any fear-based attacks from other people. You know, the ego thrives in an environment of fear, and we live in such a fearful environment right now that it doesn't really surprise me that so many people are vehemently attacking each other for having different beliefs or for saying the wrong thing. When the ego gets pumped up with fear, it becomes more emboldened to attack others in order to protect itself. Unfortunately, I think that this type of an environment can sometimes be intimidating to people who want to do something that goes against the mental grain of collective belief. So if you are on a path of living your life's purpose, ask yourself if you are holding yourself back in any way to avoid doing something wrong and being criticized for it. The best way to live your life's purpose, if you know what it is to live it from a cosmic perspective instead of from an earthbound perspective. See, there are way too many problems on this planet for this to be a nurturing, flourishing environment for truth and creativity. But here's the good news. Earth is actually a very, very tiny planet inside of a huge, gargantuan universe. In fact, Earth is so tiny that you don't have to move very far away from it before it disappears from view completely. It is literally a speck that you have to get very, very close to in order to be able to see it at all. So if we limit our consciousness and understanding to what ultimately amounts to something smaller than a speck of dust in the cosmos, then we are going to have a very difficult time indeed. What's going to happen in that case is that our thoughts are going to ricochet from boundary to boundary inside of that very tiny space. And that's what can actually make our efforts feel somewhat dispiriting and disheartening. It's one of the things that can cause us to feel hopeless given all that is going on. See, there's not a whole lot happening on planet Earth right now from which to draw hope and inspiration in a much bigger picture way. Here's the thing. As creators and as who we really are, this tiny fragment of a planet, as beautiful as it is, it's still too tiny to house our entire consciousness. So I encourage everyone to approach their life's purpose as existing in a context that is universal in nature instead of being only planetary. This will empower you to find strength in the confusing situation that the controllers have created here. Just remember that whatever your purpose is, it is meant to exist as a part of a larger, evolving universe. It's not meant to be limited to just this planet alone. Now, everyone is going to be in a different place along this spectrum of 3 levels of life purpose. So wherever you are, the idea is to keep moving forward. And remember that even if you are taking baby steps, you are still moving. And that is so much better than standing still. Now, if we don't seek to live a purposeful life, then we lose a tremendous amount of leverage when it comes to these controllers. If we don't live purposefully, then by default, we will mostly live in a reactive mode. This can manifest as either reacting to their next crisis, or it can manifest as waiting around until the next crisis hits. Either way, we lose and the controllers win. Being reactive to them is exactly where they want us. So instead, we want to be responsive to spirit. We want to be responding to the much larger evolving universe. Responsiveness comes from a place of being conscious and centered. Reactivity, on the other hand, comes from fear. Look at it this way. Imagine if you understood your life to be an extension of the powerful consciousness of the living, evolving universe. That means that your consciousness is connected to something much, much bigger than all of the craziness happening here on Earth. And you can find a good deal of comfort in that. You can find a great deal of security and peace. And you will automatically be tapped into a much higher level of intelligence, which will also give you much greater confidence in your overall existence. See, the universe itself is highly, highly purposeful in nature. Right now, its main purpose is to evolve out of duality and to heal from that manifestation. When we allow ourselves to exist as a part of that incredible consciousness, along with its higher purpose, it changes everything. It gives us a perspective that allows us to relax and see much more clearly where we want to go and how best to get there. So align yourself with the universe's larger purpose of evolution, and you will be living a purposeful life that cannot be ruined by these controllers and their sinister plot to enslave us all. It's kind of like when you go up in an airplane and you look down and you see these tiny cars moving like little ants. In that state of seeing things from a larger perspective, you no longer concern yourself with who is in those cars and worry about how the cars might hit you if you do the wrong thing. So the higher you go, the more peaceful you feel. And that is absolutely true for our consciousness as well. The higher we go on a universal trajectory of evolution, the more our consciousness will expand and offer us creative opportunities that we wouldn't be able to see from a lower perspective that is limited to an earth-based reality. This is how we can experience more peace and confidence and feel in greater command of our destiny. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. And if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think could use some extra inspiration. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because I am here every Tuesday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you loads of love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.